After more than 500 hours playing Grounded, I've learned a few things that would have been super useful when I first started playing. In this video, I'll be sharing the top 25 things I've learned about Grounded. Let's get started. I broke the list of 25 things up into 6 different categories. First up, we're going to look at resource gathering. So sometimes resources you're trying to get might be out of reach. For example, in this case, these water droplets are too high for me to reach. And what I could do is I could punch the grass or I could hit it with a weapon and they'll fall down. However, I can also just use my bow and arrow or a pebblet and knock it down. So if I just shoot this with the bow and arrow, it's going to fall down. And there's my water droplet and my arrow fell down. So this can also be used not only on water droplets, you can also use it on berries over in the hedge. You can use it on the purple flowers that drop the petals. And you can also use it on the pupa that are underneath the shed deck in order to get the ones that are up high. Second on our list is going to be getting drops from the juice boxes in the water containers. So you're probably going to notice there are juice boxes scattered around the map. There's a couple of them. I think there's at least 5. And they will drop juice drops out. Now, normally what happens is the juice drop will fall down and it'll roll somewhere. However, if you put a water container below it, as you can see right here, it will actually capture the juice droplets and it can fill all the way up. Next up on the list is an easy way to attract weevils and get free food, basically. So over here, you're going to see the trap that I've built. I do have videos on this on how to build these traps that'll get aphids and weevils. However, if you want to build something, or you want to capture the weevils a little bit easier without having to build anything, all you have to do is drop some mushrooms on the ground. These mushrooms, the little white mushrooms you find over by the toadstools, you can find them all over the map. Basically, just drop them down here. The weevils will be attracted to them. And if you drop down a couple of them and just leave them for a couple of days, you'll end up having a bunch of weevils over here. And what ends up happening is they'll walk up to them, but they won't actually eat them for some reason. So as you can see, this guy's walking up to it. It looks like he's going to try to eat it, but for some reason they can't eat it. So that's just an easy way to get them. While we're over here by the oak tree, I wanted to point out that the next thing on our list is going to be that the acorns do respawn every single day. So if you go around the tree and gather all the acorns, I believe there's about 25 of them, somewhere between 20 and 25 of them. They will respawn every day. I think you have to sleep for them to respawn, although I have not actually checked not sleeping. But the reason you want to do this is because they're going to drop some resources. Let's see if we get lucky and this one drops everything. It did. It actually dropped acorn shells, acorn bits, and an acorn top. Now, why is that important? Acorn bits are an easy source for food, so you'll basically get unlimited food. You can live off the acorn bits, honestly. So the acorn shells and the acorn tops are going to be super useful if you like building. They're needed to make the acorn spiral stairs. They're also needed to make the mushroom doors, the 2 different mushroom doors, as well as a lot of the decorative stuff, such as the wall mount, as well as the sign frames, and all of the mounted trophies all require some type of acorn. Our final resource gathering tip is going to be breaking web sacks to get some decent level materials. Now, if you're having trouble early on getting higher level bug parts, specifically stink bug parts, beetle parts, and ladybug parts, you can actually get some of them from the web sacks. So breaking the web sacks will give you a chance to get bombardier parts, gnat fuzz, ladybug heads, stink bug parts, stink bug gas sacks, and of course you'll get web fiber. And they normally are going to spawn in some spiderlings. So let's break one of these real quick. You can break them with actually any weapon. I'm using a pebblet thing here, so it's not going to do that well. So you're going to notice here a couple of the spiderlings spawn. Now I'm in creative, so they're not going to attack me. It's going to drop web fiber, and over here we got some gnat fuzz. Let's see if we get lucky with this one and get a better part. There's a bunch of these over by the hedge as well, so that's probably going to be your better bet. So in this case, look, we got ourselves a stink bug gas sack and a bombardier part, as well as the web fiber. So super useful for getting some tier 2 bug materials in order to make yourselves some of the higher level weapons and higher level gear. Next up, let's take a look at a couple of base building tips. So first on the list is going to be how to transport resources long distances. Now, you're probably familiar with the fact that you can build zip lines to have yourself travel long distances, but did you also know you can use it to transport both grass planks and weed stems? So I have 3 grass planks in my hand right now. What I'm going to do is walk up to the zip line. I'm going to get the prompt that says I can drop. So I'm just going to press the drop button. It's going to send them along. What I'm going to do is I'm going to let them go for a second. Then I'm going to follow down behind them, and I could easily transport them. This is super useful if you're building a base that is in an area that doesn't have a lot of grass or weed stems, depending what you're building out of. And then along those lines, another tip for gathering building resources and transporting them is actually using the plank pallets. So there's a plank pallet and a weed stem pallet. Now, you're probably familiar with the fact that you can fill these up. However, you can also move them. So for an example, this one's got a bunch of grass on it. I also have grass in my hand, so I can actually pick this up and relocate it with the grass in my hand, so that if I'm taking it back and forth, this is going to allow me to move lots of planks and lots of grass planks and lots of weed stems to and from where I'm going. You can also use it in conjunction with the previous tip. You could use this, take it over to the zip line, and then send them along, go back and collect some more, and just have tons of building resources. And then the third and final building tip is how to get the tall places. So let's say, for example, you don't have the resources to build yourself a acorn stair, spiral stair, or you don't want to build stairs or a ladder. You can actually use chairs to get the high places. This could also be useful for when you're actually building. So I tried this and it looks like 1.5 tiles up is going to be as high as you can do it. So I have one wall here and a half wall. Then I put the floor up and here's this chair. So there's no ladder here, but for me to get up here, all I have to do is jump and then sit in the chair. And as you can see, now we're up top and I was able to get up here without having to build, without having to jump on anything or parkour up here. Now let's take a look at a couple of crafting and cooking tips. First up is going to be that still to this day, roasting spits do not spoil food. I cannot believe this. This has been in the game for quite a while now. I'm sure that it's a bug and not intended, but if you put food on a roasting spit, such as gnat meat, aphid meat, weevil meat, tadpole meat, if you put any of those on the roasting spits and leave them there, they will not lose any of their freshness. So these have been on here probably for a couple of in-game days, maybe even longer. So what I'm doing is I'm going to grab this off of here. We're going to take a look at it. It was gnat roast. As you can see, it has full freshness right here. Next up is going to be a little crafting trick here. Now, if you want to craft berry leather or pupa leather, you can actually do it from using a workbench. So you can take 3 berry chunks and make it into 1 berry leather. You can make 5 pupa hide into 1 pupa leather. However, you can also use the jerky rack to do that. So the jerky rack is not just for turning meat into jerky, as you can see here. You can actually select it right here. I can take this right here, this berry chunk, put it on there. I can take the pupa hide, or pupa, what is it? The pupa hide, and put it on there. And when I come back a little bit later, these will be turned into leather at a 1-for-1 rate. The next crafting tip we're going to look at is how to get the most crude rope from your plant fiber. So similar to the previous tip where you can actually put stuff on the jerky rack to get better ratio of 1-for-1, you can do the same thing for plant fiber. So you can craft crude rope from your inventory at 3 plant fiber to 1 crude rope. However, if you use a spinning wheel, which you probably are going to be using to make the other ropes, the silk rope and the lint rope, depending on how far along you are in the game, you can actually put the plant fibers on here. And we can put all 5 of these on here. So 5 of them are going to turn into 5 crude ropes. So instead of having to take 15 to make 5 crude rope, we can just use 5. The final crafting and cooking tip is going to be how to turn unwanted resources into something useful. So as you can see here, I have a ton of stink bug parts. So what I'm going to do is I already have one over here. Let's take a look at my other chest and see what other resources we have tons of that I don't really care about. Spider chunks, don't really care about that. We're going to take one of those, and we're going to go over here to this chest. We got lots of ant parts, so we're going to take that as well. We're going to put that over here. And what we're going to do is instead of just throwing those away or not picking them up anymore, we're going to come over here to the smoothie station. And you're probably used to just making the smoothies that you've unlocked from the BURG.L chips. However, if you go into freestyle mode, what you can do is you can actually use any 3 resources in any combination. So I can just sit here and deposit the stink bug part, the spider chunk, and the red ant part. It's going to have this question mark down here. You can use any base you want, but I'd probably recommend for this one using the muscle sprout base because it's going to give you extra healing. And what you're going to do is you're going to hit craft on this, and it's going to give you a beefy smoothie question mark. If you use it with just the grub group, it's just going to give you a smoothie question mark. And then if you use it with the gum, it's going to give you the sticky question mark. And when we take a look at this, what this is going to do is this is actually going to heal us. And because we use the muscle sprouts, it's going to heal us for even more. Next up, let's take a look at some weapon and combat tips. So the first one is going to be how to get a decent weapon right off the start. So I just started a brand new survival world. What I'm going to do is I'm going to run over here and I'm going to grab myself the larva blade. We're going to come over here and we're just going to grab ourselves the larva blade. So the larva blade is going to be a decent starting weapon. It's going to do decent damage. It also has really high attack speed and it applies poison. It's a tier 1 weapon. Instead of crafting yourself the other options, which I don't even have unlocked because I just started this, which would be the pebblet spear, the pebblet axe, or the pebblet hammer. This is actually going to be a decent starting weapon and it's super useful. So you can grab that right off the start. Now, aside from that, the next tip I'm going to give you for weapons and combat is going to be that the best early game weapon is going to actually be the ant club. So we're going to actually sneak over here and see if we can grab one without triggering any of these wolf spiders. I do believe the wolf spiders should be sleeping on the first day. There is also a rotten. Is this guy in here? Let's find out. He is actually in here sleeping, so he shouldn't bother us. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over here to the hedge area. Now, you don't have to do this. You can actually just go to the red anthill, kill a couple of soldier ants, and you should be able to get the resources between them and the regular red ant, the worker ants, to craft yourself a ant club. However, there's also a rotten version of it. So what we're going to do is we're going to head over here. I'm going to stay away from these beetles because these beetles will absolutely wreck me if I have no armor on. And hopefully we don't run into anything over here. So we're just going to keep heading over this way. Now we're grabbing this Rotten Ant Club. So I do apologize if it's a little bit dark in here. We should be able to see though. So if you come in here, you're going to get a couple of things. You're going to grab yourself this Rotten Ant Club. There's also the Ant Totem recipe, which you can grab. There's even a backpack over here that's going to have some ant parts in it. So there you go. We got 10 ant heads. So right off the bat, within the first, what is that? The game starts. I'm only like 3 hours into the game, which is about 6 minutes. I already have myself 2 decent weapons, including the Larva Blade, which you can get really quickly, and the Rotten Ant Club. Like I said, the only downside of these is they're going to break a little bit faster, but you can use these until you actually get the Ant Club, which, like I said, is going to be the best starting early weapon. Next combat and weapon tip is going to be that throwing spears actually do a lot more damage. So here's a little worker ant that's right here. He's got full health. Now I made sure I turned off coup de grace so that we're not affecting anything, and these other mutations are not going to affect any type of damage. So this thing is a level 0 pebblet spear. I'll just show you real quick. Level 0 pebblet spear right here. It's supposed to do 1 damage, so we're going to poke this guy. And you're going to see it does that little bit of damage there, so not a lot. However, if I throw my spear at him, it should do a lot more damage. So let's throw the spear at him. And I missed to actually hit him this time. You're going to see it did a ton more damage there. So throwing the spear, I think it does between 3 and 4 times more damage. I think it depends on the bug. Some bugs are weak to, and some others are resistant to stabbing damage. So the spear is going to do stabbing damage. So depending on which one it is, it might do more, it might do less. Next combat and weapon tip is going to be that you can actually throw pebblets, grass planks, and weed stems at bugs. Now, this is probably going to be most useful early on, maybe before you find some weapons, or maybe if you're in a desperate situation, your weapon breaks, maybe you have a bug down to low health, you just want to finish it off without punching it. You can actually throw these things at it. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold this right here. I'm going to throw it, and as you can see, it one-shot the little gnat here. Sorry, gnat, we'll leave you alone. But that, like I said, it's not going to do a ton of damage, but it does do some damage. It's certainly not going to be useful for taking down larger bugs, but you can save your weapon durability. And like I said, maybe when you're starting out and you don't have any weapons, you could use it for situations like that. Our final combat and weapon tip is going to be that you can cheese most bugs with a bow. So for example, here's a ladybug right here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to shoot this ladybug. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to back up. I'm going to find myself a safe spot to get to that she can't reach. You can even just jump over them because they're usually pretty slow. And if I get up here, she can't actually reach up here. I can stand on top of a rock as well. I don't think she can reach up here. I better be careful. But no, she's not getting up here yet. What we're going to do is we're going to run back here. We're going to get on top of this rock over here. So as long as her eyes are red, she's aggro to me. You want to just make sure you keep shooting them. And then we're just going to get up on top of this rock. And now she might turn around because she might not turn around. But basically what we're doing is you can just spin around in circles, shoot them. A lot of times, depending on the bug, you can stand in specific situations. This one's really, really, really useful early on if you're trying to unlock Mithridatism, because you can kill the wolf spider that's underleaf by the oak tree by just standing on the root that's over there. Next up, let's take a look at a couple tips for mutations. First up is going to be how to unlock some of the mutations as well as how to level them up quickly. So real quick, the first line going from Lil Fist down to Sharpshooter, then the second line, Barbarian, Blade Master, and Parry Master. There's going to be a real easy way to unlock most of these. So the first 8 of them are going to be involving different types of weapons. So Lil Fish, you're going to have to get 50 kills by using your bare hands. Chopper, you're going to have to get 50 kills to unlock phase 1 with an axe, then 100, then 150 in order to unlock the rest of the phases. Each one of these is associated with a different weapon type. And then Parry Master, you're going to unlock it by doing perfect blocks. The easiest way to unlock these is by fighting against lawn mites. So for example, over here at the Fallen Branch, there's a ton of lawn mites. Can we get a perfect block? Perfect block, perfect block. This is how I got Parry Master unlocked. You can also use it for, in addition to Parry Master, for just getting the kills. So as you can see, I just killed 3 of them real quick. My inventory's full. There's a bunch of them over there. I think there's like 10 to 15 of them. And I do think they respawn I don't know if it's every day or every other day, but lawn mites are going to be a super easy way to level up lots of your mutations as well as how to unlock them. And if you don't want to use lawn mites, if you want to try to get them even faster, That trap I showed you earlier that had the weevils and aphids in it, if you build that trap, you can actually get tons of aphids and weevils in there, and sometimes even red worker ants. That's real quick, easy kills to unlock those mutations. But specifically Perrymaster, if you want to unlock it, I would recommend doing it against the lawn mites over here. The next tip for mutations, and this might sound super silly, but not everyone knows this, you have to equip the mutations. So when you unlock the mutations, make sure you're equipping them. Now, when you start out the game, you can only have up to two equipped. You can actually unlock more by giving BURG.L milk molars. That's going to allow you to get up to 5. So right now I have 5. However, you have to actually equip them. They're not passive. So when you unlock, let's say you unlock Little Fists, as soon as you unlock it, you don't automatically get this. You actually have to click on it and hit activate mutation down here. So make sure you have up to whatever the maximum is you can use and always have them equipped. Pick which ones you want to use. Make sure you equip them. Next mutation tip is going to be that the cardio fan mutation is probably one of the worst ones in the game. Now, I say this after having used it probably for the first 350 to 400 hours that I played the game, somewhere in that range. You unlock this one pretty early on because all it takes is to drain your stamina down to 0, and you can do that pretty quick. You're going to do it pretty quickly early on before you have any type of stamina buffs. So you're going to unlock it pretty quickly. I always used it up until the point where I was actually trying to kill the brood mother, trying to figure out what the best mutations were to use against her. Someone suggested to me to drop Cardio Fan, which I was like, I laughed at initially because I was like, I always use Cardio Fan. After dropping it, I was easily able to slay the brood mother on medium mode by myself. And then what I ended up doing is I did an entire video on Cardio Fan where I tested using it with having it on and without it on. It makes absolutely no difference. It's almost unnoticeable how little bit of bonus you get from the hyper stamina. So what hyper stamina does is it regenerates your stamina faster, but it's such a little amount, even at phase 3, that it's not even noticeable. You're far better off just using buff lungs instead, which is going to increase your max stamina by 50%. The final mutation tip is going to be that coup de grace, which I typically have on all the time, can actually proc when you're harvesting resources with the hammer and the axes. So I have it equipped right now. What we're going to do is walk up to this weed stem, and we're going to see if we can get a spark. There you go. We got it on the first hit that time. So what that does is just going to do more damage. So 2 out of the 3 hits there applied to that attack there. So if you're harvesting resources and you have coup de grace, I'd recommend equipping it, because what it's going to do is it's going to allow you to harvest the resources, specifically the grass planks, the weed stem. Well, the grass planks are pretty easy to break, but the bigger weed stems, and then of course when you're harvesting quartzite and rocks like that and clay, you're going to want to make sure you have it equipped because it can proc. Our final set of tips are going to revolve around BURG.L and the oak tree lab. So the first one is going to be, and this is slightly a building tip as well, I usually block off, specifically, this is the entrance to the oak tree lab. I always build some grass walls up here to prevent the wolf spiders that are underneath the tree from just walking in and out of here. So it kind of keeps them away. You can actually block off all the entrances if you want to, but this one specifically, I would definitely recommend blocking that off as early as possible, because the last thing you want to do, especially when you're just starting out, is walk into here and come out and have a wolf spider sitting right there and you can't kill it because you're just not geared up for it. So that's the first tip that involves BURG.L and the Oak Tree Lab. Now let's head on down here and talk to BURG.L. Next BURG.L tip is BURG.L is going to give you up to 3 daily quests. Now, why are these important? They're important because they reward you with raw science, which you can then use to buy stuff from BURG.L. Now, BURG.L swap shop right here, after you repair him and start giving him the BURG.L chips, it's going to allow you to purchase stuff from him. Now, in this case, on this save, I've actually unlocked everything that's in the game right now, and I have 32,955 raw science left over. So when the next update comes out, I'm going to be able to buy everything. If you want to stock up on raw science and be able to buy all the new stuff as fast as possible, I'd recommend doing the daily quest as often as possible. So like I said, well, we can go down here and we can say, do you have any work for me? And we'll hit continue. And because I already have the mosquito quest down here that I didn't finish the previous day, he's going to give us Hunter Larva, Hunter Infected Weevil. There's a bunch of different quests. When you're first starting out, he's probably going to give you the ones to find the BURG.L chips and maybe to go find some landmarks where you have to place some trail markers. You're also going to get crafting quests, and you're going to get the hunting quest. And then some of them are repeating. The hunting quest and the crafting quest will repeat. So I recommend doing those. They're going to give you different amounts, and doing those every day is just going to give you another source of raw science in addition to the raw science you're going to find when you're wandering around the map and exploring. Along the same lines with these quests is, now let's say he gives you a quest and you don't want to do it for whatever reason. Maybe you've already played the game and you know where the chips are, and he gives you, go find the Haze Lab chip or something, and you know you're not going to do the Haze Lab yet, so you don't want to do it. What you can do is you actually can go in here to where it says, do you have any work for me? Go down, and let's say, like, for example, I don't feel like going into the Haze to fight infected weevils. I can just hit abandon and it'll abandon it. I also don't want to fight mosquitoes because they're my least favorite bug in the game and I try to avoid them at all costs. we're going to hit this and we're going to hit cancel. So what that's going to do is we're going to cancel those. And then the next day I come here, he's going to actually have more for me. The final tip for BURG.L is going to be about the chip sleuth quests. So one of the types of quests that BURG.L will give you is to go find the chips that you can return to him, and he'll actually be able to sell you more stuff. Now, one thing I've seen people say is they don't like going out and getting the chips until BURG.L actually gives them the quest, because I think they think that you don't get the raw science. That is not the case. For example, if I just start out a game and he doesn't give me any chip sleuth quest for whatever reason, or he gives me, let's say he gives me the ones in the pond, but I know I can go get the one in the red anthill pretty easily. I can go get the one in the red anthill, bring it back to him. He's still going to give me the raw science for it. It's just going to eliminate that quest from future options. But don't worry about not getting the raw science. When you turn in a chip, even if you don't have the quest, you're going to get the raw science. So those are 25 things that I've learned in my more than 500 hours of playing Grounded. Hopefully you found some of them useful, if not all of them. Hopefully some of them you did not know, and they'll help make your gameplay experience better. If you found this video interesting, if you found it helpful, make sure to click the like button and consider subscribing for more Grounded videos just like this. Thank you for watching, and thank you to all my channel members, especially the Overseer91, Grey Knight, and Baz channel, and all my other channel members who help make videos like this possible. Thanks again for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.